Please join me in welcoming the director of SLY, Thom Zimny, and Sylvester Stallone.
I love you too.
Congratulations to both of you on just a beautiful film. So much emotion in seeing your whole story. I want to ask you, first of all, you sat and you watched the film, SLY. What was it like to watch your life story through Tom's eyes unfold with an audience of hundreds of people tonight?
It's very emotional. It's quite a roller coaster because you don't recall saying things that you said, and then when you see it played back in front of, wonderful people, you don't know how they're going to interpret it, or did you say it? It's almost like, should I have opened up enough? And then you're proud that you did. So put it this way, it's a very, very peak and valley situation in a good way. I loved it very much, and I think Tom is brilliant at capturing things that I didn't want to reveal, but he just got them, and I'm very happy that this is on record forever, because it's really the way I am and the way I live. Thank you.
Tom, I want to ask you, you've worked with Bruce Springsteen more than once, and you've made a documentary about Willie Nelson and now Sylvester Stallone. What does it take to get an icon who's been in front of the public eye for decades to open up and reveal himself like SLY did?
My other experiences in film, was nothing like this experience. It was just amazing because the other films I worked on, I was in a space where I'd be doing interviews, but with SLY, I had this moment where we had a bit of a dance, a conversation, and I think it stems from the place of hearing each other, but also as a director listening, and this beautiful thing of trust that is a silent thing that can happen in a room. And I think we're lucky enough to stumble into trust. And
you also he has a very unique way of getting you out of your game. In other words, when I'm standing in the hallway and he's asking me questions, I go, why aren't we sitting down in a comfortable chair and you're there and I'm here like I'm used to? So I'm just standing there. You people notice like you're just like, what do I do with my hands here? And before you know it, you can't shut your mouth. You just start talking out of just angst, you know what I mean? I said, when's he gonna move? And he continues to talk nonstop.
Okay.
In a good way. In other words, it's coming at you, and eventually you just get caught up in his rhythm, and you forget that you're being recorded forever. I go, oh no, because you're not in control. He's in control. I found that all the time. I said, my God, he doesn't ever put it, like in this situation, okay, I know, we're going to be interviewed, I get it. He'd be doing it like hanging from a rope or something, just, I go, nah, this can't be real. It's really unusual style.
So you're out of your comfort zone.
Yes, completely, completely. I'm not uncomfortable, but I'm on the streets of New York and I'm walking. He's asking me things, and I'm looking at cabs and things going by. And oh yeah, man, my father he used to bust my jaw right over there, and I don't, that kind of thing. And then I go, wow, I wasn't planning on saying that.
Yeah, and then there it is.
And there it is.
I want to ask you about about the journey that you made as an actor. Because when you were coming up, the movies you watched as a kid, you talk about Hercules and other movies that you watched as a young man, those were made within the Hollywood studio system, where there was a very strong structure. You know, you signed contracts, you worked for years with a studio. When you were coming up, all that was blown open, and you essentially had to create, you had to write your career into existence. I'm interested in that part of the story because you shouldn't have had the career you did. You made it happen.
Well, I came along at a time when the studio system was imploding. They were doing musicals and these gigantic things that just were going sideways. And then, what is his name? The Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper.
Easy Rider.
Easy Rider came along, and John and I just dropped in it, and we said, my God, this is like shot on a home video camera, very real. People seem to be making up their own dialogue. So I was at the beginning of a new kind of filmmaking. And then, of course, you had unknowns like Al Pacino coming along doing Panic in Needle Park and De Niro doing Hi, Mom, and everything else. And so I was at the birth of this kind of auteur sort of filmmaking. So it just, I got past the hero worship. I was never taken by the style in the 50s and 60s, which was very staid and overlit and so on and so forth. But I was caught up on the fact that a lot of studio heads, they liked heroes. And they kind of coveted them. And there were certain actors that you could be sure were going to deliver that kind of role. Not usually your A actors, the B actors. And I was so caught up, for example, on the seventh voyage of Sinbad. Anything that was mystical that could take me away from where I was physically at the time. And so I never got over that kind of world where it's just like, okay, I don't want to live in the real world per se. I want to take like a Rambo, like Quentin was saying. In the original book, he was a psychopath. He killed everybody. And I was the 11th choice. And everyone passed on it because they didn't want to play a psychopath. And I go, I get it, but he doesn't have to be a psychopath. He could be borderline. And that changed the whole structure.
Very different.
Thank you.
So, having created your own iconic status, first with the Rocky movies and then with Rambo and then everything that came afterwards, you're now in a position where you have this larger-than-life status on screen and off screen everywhere you go. And Thom, I'm wondering about approaching Sylvester Stallone at that point, and how much of that iconic status do you want to preserve? How much do you want to get behind it and around it and show us more dimensions?
I look, that idea of, like, sometimes a still would just take me out of what I wanted in the film, and I would stay away from certain archival footage. I wanted to get to the place of beyond an iconic image. I wanted to get a sense of an artist, a journey, this arc. I saw a filmmaker, a painter, an artist. So at times I could lean into the heroic side of that imagery with the Rocky films, but I was very particular about what image I would show, because sometimes your brain will click off and then you're in just that space of an action figure, a star. And I wanted to make sure that we constantly grounded ourselves to the artist, to this man that I spent time in the room with and heard these stories. And also I would have my memories of childhood and seeing these films, and I could go there for a minute, but I wanted to go always back to what I kept thinking about is the man, the artist.
That was what really impressed me about the film. When I first saw it, I was so struck by how much of a interior, reflective, creative artist you were. We know the iconic image, we know the tough guy, we know the physicality of your roles, but the interior part, I hadn't really seen to that degree before, that you wrote your career into existence, that you painted for many years, and you still do. And actually at TIFF Bell Lightbox right now, we have an exhibit of some of your paintings. So I want to ask you about that side of you, the interior side of you, the side that is the more reflective artist. Were you hiding that from us? Or like, how come we didn't know more about that before?
Well, I think because of the persona that I presented earlier on in my career, being very physical, especially Lords of Flatbush, you automatically assume through a stereotype. It's like, if you see a fellow smoking a pipe and wearing glasses, you go, oh, he must be so bright. Then he opens his mouth, he has one tooth. Duh. But the perception is like and then you see some muscular guy, you go, he's got to be an idiot. He's just obviously pumping. And I do the same thing. So we're very, very, like, judge a book by its cover. That's what happened, I think, a lot of it. And I'm also to be held responsible because I was very vocal and combative, and I would say things that I look back on now. I said, God, what a moron. I mean, serious, I would challenge people, and if I didn't get a good review, I'd like, oh. And then I realized it's part of the business. That's that you got to take the good with the bad and so on and so forth. So people had that. That was also indelible, the way the press saw me, and I get it. I think a big mistake is I got caught up with the fascination of sequels. Okay. I just did. And everyone was going, it's taboo, it's bourgeois, why are you doing sequels? And I thought, well, you're watching some of these TV shows for 15 years. What do you like Gunsmoke, 30 years. So obviously, there's an interest in that kind of character. And I thought, wow, Rocky has so much further to go than the downside, than the ego side. And I just wanted to go with that. But I also signed my death warrant, like, you're that guy. And whereas if I should have done more Coplands earlier on, because that's why I really enjoy, I love ensemble. That's my meat and potatoes. But it's kind of hard for people to perceive me doing that. That's why I'm trying to work, even with Tulsa King, whatever, the more actors I can get to come on the show. Thank you. And kind of like go one-on-one. I've been talking to Pacino. I said, you better do this before you croak. I want you, like, come on, let's go. I've been calling you since 1977 with Paradise. It's the truth. I said, enough. And Bobby would work with, so I want to be able to work with all the actors that I consider fantastic while I'm still around.
Thank you. I want to ask you about Copland because I rewatched that film recently. Underrated film. If you haven't seen Copland with SLY, please do. Incredible film.
Thank you.
Great cast as well.
Yeah.
Everybody's in that movie. But a very different role for you, right?
Yeah.
You're not the combative tough guy.
No.
You're much more kind of, shy character. And did audiences reject that, or were they ready for you in that role?
This is a matter of where commerce, timing, again, perception. I believe that when I did the film, Harvey Weinstein was doing it through Miramax, this is a winter movie. This is not the kind of film that, oh, should we go to the beach today or watch Copland, which is depressing? Yeah,
it's a festival movie. Actually.
So I thought, okay, this is the kind of film you see during November. Yeah. I mean, that's it. So he releases it in August. I went, oh, man. And then, and it just didn't catch on. But I'm proud of the work. I enjoy working with these fantastic actors. It was so interesting because no one talked to anybody during filming. It's like, ooh, 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 this kind of thing. And then we get on the set and we just bond. And then I realized that all actors are nuts. They really are crazy. That's what makes them good. They're not like social birds. Hey, let's hang out. Let's have a barbecue. Forget it. They all say, give me your number, and we got to get together. We got to hang out. We got to get our families together. Until they get to their car, and then it's uniform amnesia. But because that's what a lot of actors and artists tend to be loners. They really are. They have their small little group, and that loneliness, or that, again, I think that comes from childhood. They don't tend to be gregarious. At least not the really good ones.
And you're working in Copland with De Niro
Yes.
and Ray Liotta.
Great everyone.
actors.
Robert Patrick, Annabella Sciorra, Harvey Keitel. I mean, good people.
If there was something that you think people should take away from Sly, something that maybe we didn't know about him before the film, what for you is the most important thing?
I think the most important thing for me is that I hope that this film would be for everyone, the casual fan, the Uber fan, but just that if I could stand in that shadow of the inspiration in telling his story, the way that his narratives inspire people, have moved me, that was my hope, that I could step close to that, and the doc, you could walk away going, I've learned a lot about him, I didn't realize this. I also was just on a mission to, after spending time and looking at all the scripts and all the writing, I wanted to just show this filmmaker in a different way. So besides inspiring people, I wanted to just reveal the artist, because there's moments that...
Thank you.
And Sly, this is hard to do. You've made so many films, so many iconic films, but if you could encourage people to rewatch or to watch some of your films, what for you are the ones that really stand out? I went back, I watched the first Rocky again, I watched First Blood, which looks very different to me now. Rocky Balboa, Copland, some of them really stand out. But for you, what are those signature films now?
Oh boy, wow. I liked Nighthawks, was interesting at the time. I thought that was because that was a rugged film to make, and America hadn't experienced any sort of terrorism at that time. It was like, I could possibly never, that would never happen, kind of thing. But it was just some good performances in that, and I don't really know if there's. I liked, believe it or not, I liked Demolition Man because of what it's almost happening.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
right. That's
it's
right.
like, how do they know? It's things like that. There's certain moments. It's very rare do I look at a film, like I look at Lion in the Winter and go, wow. I admire things that I know I could never do. I just don't have that gear. Thank you. And I look at it and I go, that's fantastic. And I'm riveted, like you watch Gregory Peck and Moby Dick, you go, that's amazing stuff. So I'm drawn towards that. And what I do, or what you say, an action film, I feel like, okay, but it's not like that. So when I get a chance to do ensemble work, that's what I look forward to, and that's what we're doing now and in streaming, in Tulsa King, if we ever, thank you. So I don't know.
Audiences have one more day to see the exhibit of your work, including your paintings, at the Lightbox. In some of your paintings, the later paintings,
yes,
there's a clock
yes, in
them. Can you tell us about that?
I'd say in 100 paintings that I have in storage, 90 have clocks, because I think that it's what it's all about. I think you get to a certain age and you become incredibly aware of time, especially where you've squandered it, where you made the wrong choice, where you went left instead of going right in your life. And the picture, usually if it's 11 o'clock, it's early on in this person's career, and the picture will be more vibrant, more optimistic. And then if it gets past midnight, the painting will start to be a bit more morose. The colors will become a bit more muted. So I use that to gauge the tone of the painting, which I think it's what gauges us, if you know what I mean, the clock.
That's all the time we
Thank you.
have. It's been so good to get to know you and your work so much better through this film. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to the Toronto Film Festival,
thank you,
Sly.
Cameron.
And Thom Zimny, thanks for coming back. Thank you all for being here. Sylvester Stallone and
Amy.
Thom Zimny.